Hi, it's festive season, and while everybody's busy painting colorful ornaments, in this video I am going to show you how to paint a glass Christmas ornament using various watercolor techniques. So stay tuned. Hi and welcome to Run My Arts watercolor series, and today's painting will be demonstrated on Canson XL watercolor paper of 300 grams per square meter cold pressed, and the layout is portrait. And over here I am just showing the basic of sketching the icicle. So basically I have drawn a vertical line which is almost in the middle of the paper, which measures about 6 centimeter from the right, and the length of this vertical line is about 13 centimeters. So this is going to be the center point for me to start sketching the icicle. And I've also sketched a basic oval shape, which is the main part of the icicle, and the width of this oval shape is about 2 centimeters. So at this point of time you will have a needle looking shape, and based on this shape I am going to draw the spiral or braid that forms the twisted looking icicle. I'm not sure how to explain this, but I think you will get the idea of it. So it doesn't have to be a perfect shape as long as you draw it diagonally. Once again, it's a diagonal shape moving towards the bottom of the entire sketch. So you'll have a twist or a braid looking like this. And ensure to erase all those outline marks we did in the beginning to make the basic sketch. And I'm also erasing a little bit of those sketch in the middle of the subject. Following this, I have also drawn the holder and a light string that connects the head of the icicle. So before we start painting, I am sharing with you the 3 main color palette to paint the background of the ornament, which is indigo, permanent green olive, and you can see the color samples on the paper as I demonstrate, as well as cyan blue. You can use any bright blue of your choice. So I would prefer to paint the background using the wet on wet technique. So you will have to pre-wet the background using a clean wet brush and avoiding the icicle ornament sketch. So make sure you don't accidentally wet the sketch area, and quickly dumping in the olive green as the first color and the most dominant color that I have decided to use in this painting. And why I chose to do a wet on wet technique is because I want a smooth looking background, which will be altered at a later stage. And the second color that I've dropped in is the indigo. Since this is an ornament hanging on a Christmas tree, so you can try to shape them in a form of pine needles. And the cyan blue, I am dropping it in the form of a ball ornament or sphere ornament. So while I wait for the background painting to dry, just a quick show of 2 of my recent tutorials, Christmas themed tutorials. One is the Labrador puppy with Santa hat and Poinsettias, fancy ones with gold shimmer. So do check out those tutorials in the links given in the description. Alright, the background is now completely dry, so I am going to start painting the ornament, the icicle ornament. And since this is a glass ornament, the color of the subject will definitely correspond to its surroundings color. So I have mixed both the permanent green olive and indigo to arrive at this shade. which is like a dull green. Alright, so I'm going to lightly paint this color onto the icicle. And since this is the first layer of painting for the ornament, I've decided to paint it wet on wet. So you can see me pre-wetting the sketch area with some clean water, and then I'll drop in those mixed color. And I'm using a smaller size brush since this is a very narrow area of subject. And if you notice, the paint mix is quite diluted, meaning it doesn't have too much of those paint pigment, so that it doesn't appear to be too dark at this point of time. Even though watercolor dries off much lighter, I do not wish to take the risk, so I've decided to make it in a very watery consistency. And after applying the color, you can see me lifting out some pigment using another brush, clean damp brush, to reveal some highlights, areas where there's more shine or light effect. So continue painting this. Don't have to be so in detail with the painting, but it's more of a repetitive pattern. As I paint from the top to the bottom, you will notice that it is in a repetitive pattern. Just re-wetting areas that I notice have dried, and lifting the pigments from the same area once again, simply because it was a wet on wet painting, so there's still color spread onto the wet areas. Alright, done with the first layer of painting on the ornament. Now it's time to fine tune the outline of the ornament, where it is uneven in edges, so I will have to repaint the background. And for the second layer of painting, I'm just doing this using the wet on dry technique. So I have not pre-wet the background area. Instead, I'm just right away painting using the wet paint onto the dry paper. And the first color is the permanent olive green that I used earlier for the first layer. Just carefully painting the outline or edges of the ornament so that I don't accidentally stain the inside of the ornament. And after applying this wet paint, I am going to use a clean damp brush to give them some light washes. And I'm going to repeat this technique onto the left hand side of the ornament with the indigo pigment. And I've also extended the indigo shade onto other parts of the painting. So time to fine tune the details of the ornament. And I'm going to use the same small bristle brush, and also using the same color mix, which is the indigo and permanent green olive, but it is in a much more thicker consistency, which means there is more paint than water. And as I demonstrate here, that was the earlier paint mix. So as I paint, you can see there's a vast difference. It appears to be more darker. So I'm going to use this paint mix to paint in the details. So basically I am painting this while observing the reference photo, and it is actually, the color is actually coming from the Christmas tree itself and its surroundings, that can be seen through the glass ornament or also reflected on the glass surface of the ornament. So the objective is to create that sheer look or transparency level of the glass ornament, because it is not an opaque item but a transparent or sheer object. And I'm not trying to be very much detailed in my painting, but what I'm trying to do is to create that repetitive pattern, just like how I painted in the first layer. I'm just trying to create some repetitive pattern onto the second layer as well. And a part of being repetitive, there are also extra or additional marks on the second layer of painting. As I paint, you will notice I am also covering some part of the empty areas. And after applying this paint, I'm going to give them some light washes to soften its look using the same brush, but after cleaning it. In other words, I'm using the clean damp brush to give it some washes to soften its look. After much observation, I also noticed there's a third shade on the glass ornament, and I noticed it was a cool grey. So in order to paint this grey shade, I have mixed some burnt sienna with my sapphire blue. You can also use ultramarine blue, and mix these two colors until you arrive at a cool grey. And you want this paint mix to be slightly diluted, which means it shouldn't be as thick as the dark green hue that I painted as a second layer. And using the same small size brush, I am painting the white areas, but I am not fully covering those light areas. It's just a little bit of paint application here and there. And also extending the grey mix towards the head of the ornament as well as the holder. And I'm also going to paint the string that holds the ornament using a much narrow brush, which is my script brush. Since this is a very thin line, so it'll be easier to paint it with a script brush. And a little bit of fine details here and there using the same script brush. So at this point of time, I needed to darken some areas. So I'm using the same dark green hue that I used to make those markings earlier, and just darkening some areas that seem like a pit on the ornament. Next, I needed some more highlights on head part of the ornament. So I'm using a clean damp brush to slightly brush it on the surface and lift it out with a clean tissue paper. So next we need some background details, which is the pine branch and needles or leaves, and I'm using my rigger brush to paint in the Christmas tree branch, and the color mix is Sapphire. So just randomly making some brush strokes of the branches, and after that I'm going to paint in those pine needles or leaves using the same permanent green olive. So I have not painted any branch overlapping the ornament, even a small bit, because the glass ornament is the main subject of this painting, so I don't want to take away that limelight of the ornament. And besides, if you want to draw an overlapping branch on the glass ornament, you will have to paint some shadow effects on the ornament itself. Therefore, I don't prefer to draw any branch overlapping the ornament. And right now I am just lifting out some pigment, as in light effect or bokeh effect, using the small brush which has a hard bristle. You can't do this with a soft bristle, as you will need more effort to brush off those painted areas. So just use a clean damp brush and rub it against the painted areas and lift them off using a paper towel. So to enhance the final look of the ornament, I'm just using a little bit of white gouache paint to apply it on some part of the string as well as the ornament surface itself. If you don't prefer to use white gouache paint, then you can use your white markers or pastel pencils. Lastly, a little bit of paint spatters to add some fun to your entire painting. And there you go, glass icicle Christmas ornament. I hope I have done justice to the look of this glass ornament. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, then do hit the like and share button, as well as subscribe to my channel. Thank you. See you in another tutorial. Bye.